Of your time. This is our Excellence in Action Tour, and it's our way of reaching out to the community of Santa Clarita Valley and beyond sometimes, and just letting folks in our valley know who we are and what we're doing here at Trinity, and give you a little inside peek at the mission and vision of Trinity and just sort of where our heart is with our students here. So I hope you'll enjoy this hour. We'll peek into a couple of classrooms. We'll see our little tiny kindergartners. You'll get to see where they start in their first year at Trinity. And then we'll also pop into Dr. Grant Horner's classroom with freshmen and hear a little bit of Socratic discussion. So you see, you know, where they rise while they're here. So that's fun to sit in on that class. And I'll warn you, it's hard to leave that class because once we get in there, we all become engaged. So anyway, I have been here at Trinity for 5 years now, and I think a lot of parents get involved in their children's schools in a volunteer capacity once their children start. I sort of came backwards. I started here before my children did. I was actually volunteering for my church, and one of my pastors had said, gosh, you know, you're writing grants for us. Seems like Trinity could really use some help with some grants. And so I began meeting with Liz Caddo, our founder and head of school, and began to learn about Trinity so that I could effectively write about Trinity. And the more I learned and the more time I was on campus and seeing students interacting with teachers and students interacting with one another, and just learning more about what is classical education and what was going on here, I began to think, gosh, how can I know that this exists and not have this for my children? And so my children have now been enrolled 4 years. My son Cole is in 8th grade, my daughter Tori's in 5th grade, and they've made an amazing transition in their first year, to the point that when my mom and dad came to visit for Grandparents' Day, my mom said to me, she said, gosh, this has changed your whole family. And I didn't realize that. It was neat to have her perspective looking at us and just seeing the impact that being here at Trinity had made really in our lives as a family. So we hope to share some of that with you this morning. I'd like to introduce you first to Liz Caddo, our founder and head of school, and she'll tell you how this all got started.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here this morning. It's a pleasure to have you. I do get that question pretty regularly. How did all of this get started? And I have to harken back to when I was a child. And my dad was a teacher, junior high and high school teacher for 32 years. And he would remind me when he was living of how I used to spend my time as a child. And I do believe that the Lord can speak to us in our youth through our passions. And I would play school all the time. And I would line up my stuffed animals and my dog Socks, and we would play school. Socks, of course, could never understand why he was getting in trouble for bothering the other, friends in his class. And so early on, I do believe the Lord helped me see that which I might be called to as an adult, and that would be an educator. And it was through my postgraduate work at the University of Southern California, when I was getting my master's and my teaching credential, that really the dream of Trinity Classical Academy came alive. I was doing my student teaching, and I was thinking, my goodness, there is so much more that the next generation could be learning and should be learning. And frankly, I was feeling like modern education was leaving this generation, or that generation at the time, impoverished emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. And at the time, I met an alumnus who had started a school. She had started a school for her son who had severe learning needs. And that was really the first time it dawned on me, you can do that. You can start a school. And so I finished my credential and my master's, and Wally and I moved out to this valley and started teaching. But from that earlier experience, we knew that, gosh, if there was something that we could do for our own children, which at the time we didn't have, and if we were to have children, what could that look like? So we started to research and pray and think through, what could that be? And with a handful of other like-minded folks, Trinity Classical Academy was born September 11th, or September 2001, just days before 9/11, with 26 little people, 13 families, and 3 faculty and staff. And it has been amazing to see what a small amount of faith, what the Lord can do. For this year, we have 462 students, kindergarten through 12th grade, with double grades K through 10th, and 92 faculty and staff, and about 260 families. And it has truly been remarkable what the Lord has done with really just ordinary people. I do believe He's done something extremely extraordinary. And it has been a blessing and a privilege to be a part. The mission of our school has remained unchanged since its founding. And the mission of our school is to offer a challenging education grounded in the Christian faith and the classical tradition to produce young men and women of virtue, wisdom, purpose, and courage. And as our students, because we've talked a lot about last year being our first graduating class, and yes, they did accomplish a lot in their time here, and I do believe we're prepared as we heard about what they've been doing in college. But more importantly, it was about who they were, who they've become, and who they became as adults. And so just excited for them, and that idea of purpose, wisdom, virtue, and courage. You know, those 10 that left us do believe that they wanted to live their life that way. And now we're seeing some fruits of that. Yes, I know, we talk about this, they're between 18 and 22. We do have to get them through that period too. Fingers crossed and praying as we hear how they're doing. But it has been exciting. And as we look at our school and the vision, which is to continue to grow and do what we're doing as a school, that we could be a place for families and children that want more and seek more and want an integration of faith and learning in what they're doing. The classical model is not new, and it is wonderful how it integrates faith and learning, but my goodness, the concepts of the great books and the great ideas of Western civilization, and Latin, grammar, rhetoric, logic, and how all of that fits together, we do believe it produces different people and thinkers. This concept, can they think well, read well, and write well, know what they believe and why they believe it, and be able to communicate it in a fashion so that people would care what they have to say, and actually maybe sway someone towards things that are also true and good and beautiful. So it has been a wonderful journey to see our students be able to do that, and the community that the Lord has brought. What also has been quite remarkable is what we've been able to do with a community. Our families, we have about 60% of our families on tuition assistance. The idea being we wanted to represent the entire body of Christ in our community, socioeconomically and spiritually, as we have about 40 plus churches represented in our student body. And last year, as we graduated our first senior class, we also opened our Imago Dei School, which means in the image of God, and that is for a small part of our population that truly struggles with learning needs on the moderate to severe end. And we have about 13 students on our campus who have that learning spectrum, several with autism, several with some other learning issues more severe going on, and they are here and they are experiencing our community, and it's been a privilege because not only have their lives been changed, every single student on this campus and every single individual's life has been changed as a result of serving this unique population. And so we've been blessed by that. And as we continue to grow with our vision, we want to be able to be a place where families can come and students can learn, and faculty and staff can grow and be a part of this community as well as outside of our community. And so that has been a blessing. I'm often asked, why do you do this every day? And if I were to say exactly why, I would have to confess that I take a crazy pill every morning and keep refilling the prescription. But and as does everybody else. But if I were to share that specifically, I mentioned my dad earlier, who had a huge influence on my life. I think on what I eventually would choose to do as an adult. As he was a teacher, but we would run together when I was a child. Well, actually, when I was in high school, I did gymnastics, and I grew up in Arizona, and so I think he was always in fear that I would pass out somewhere in 120-degree heat, and running, and he was gracious to go with me. But now that I have a teenager, I understand that he was just grateful for the time and the conversation that was had in those running times. And we would talk a lot about what I wanted to do with my life, and I didn't, know totally what he was doing at the time, and he would ask pointed questions. But I would just say, I want to make a difference with my life, Dad. I want my life to count. And that would be why I'm doing this every day, and I do believe why those who become a part of our community are doing it every day, because we're seeing lives be changed, hearts, minds, and it's making a difference in the souls that the Lord is bringing. And so we're so grateful for that, and we're so grateful to be able to share it with the community. And so we thank you for coming today, and we look forward to sharing with you. You'll see glimpses of what's going on, not the big picture, all of it, but pieces of it, which will hopefully help you see the heart and passion and purpose of why we're doing it. We want other people to know about it. So thank you for coming this morning. I think we're headed to kindergarten,
yes.
Which is always a treat because they're 5 and you never quite know what they're going to say. As when you visit the 14-year-olds, Mr. Horner's class. But we'll head over there. Thank you.
And we will come back to this room, so if you want to leave your things, you're welcome to.